Mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, Mobile Broadband in India, Carrier Strategies. I'm Caroline Gabriel, I'm the Research Director of Maravedis-Rethink and I will be the Chairman of the webinar today. Just to introduce the company, we are a specialist company with an extensive research programme focused specifically on operator strategies for 4G and mobile broadband around the world. India is a particularly influential market within that, which we study very closely as part of our 4G Count service and other research programs. So I'm delighted that we will hear from two highly informed speakers today. Maravedis-Rethink's Principal Analyst for the Asia-Pacific region, who's based in India, Basharathashai, and then from one of India's most significant operators, MTNL, whose General Manager of Marketing and Business Development, Deepak Chandukar, will share with us the experiences of launching 3G in India and looking ahead to 4G. Before I set the scene with a couple of slides, I would just like to go through some housekeeping issues on the systems that we're using. So I'll just hand briefly over to Adeline Cellular, our CEO, for that.
Thank you, Caroline. If you can go to the next slide here. Just a couple of housekeeping items for those that are not familiar with the platform. Go to Webinar. The Grab tab on your right side is the open and close control panel. You can click square to toggle the viewer window between full screen and window mode. There is also an audio pane which allows you to select the audio format of your choice, either using microphone speakers or the telephone line with the different numbers available from select countries. Of course, you can submit questions and review answers. There's a type box, a chat box at the bottom where you can type your question and click send to submit it to the organizer. We encourage everybody to send questions during the event, and we will address them at the end during the Q&A session. Some of the frequently asked questions include when to obtain the slides and is the event being recorded. So yes, the event is being recorded and the link will be sent to you within the next 2 business days along with the slide deck. If you need more information about the research discussed today, please visit the Maravedis-Rethink website www.maravedis-bwa.com. So before we jump into the actual webinar, we're going to be pushing here the first poll as we want to understand which part of the ecosystem do you belong to. So please take a few seconds here to answer the question here, just so we can better understand, which part of the ecosystem do you belong to, and it will give us a better idea of how the webinar is perceived. I'm going to give it a few more seconds here for people to respond. We still have people joining the webinar as we speak, so the results may be skewed a little, but I think we can have a good idea here. So there's still some people responding, and I will close the poll now and share it. So we have a pretty good representation here between service providers, 27%, the manufacturers, resellers, 34%, enterprise and broadband users, 10%, and the rest formed by media analysts, consultants, and others at 29%. We have a pretty good representation here of the ecosystem. So without further ado, back to you, Caroline.
Thank you, Adeline. Let's get my slide going. Yes, so to start the webinar properly, this is our agenda for the day. I'm going to make a very brief introduction. That will be followed by a presentation by Basharat, summarising the key findings of our most recent report on the Indian mobile broadband market. And then we'll hand over to Deepak to tell us in depth about MTNL, its business models and its challenges with 3G. And we've followed by Q&A, and as Adeline said, please remind you to submit your questions via the dashboard at any point during the presentation, and we will aim to address as many as we can in the Q&A and hopefully be able to get back to people who aren't lucky enough to get their question answered online. I'm going to set the scene very briefly with a couple of slides. These really are to show India in its global context. At Maravedis-Rethink we have a service called 4G Counts, which tracks the top 100 4G operators around the world. So we have a very good sense of the global picture with LTE and other technology rollouts. We're aware that India is a large market. It's coming perhaps relatively late to 3G and 4G, but its sheer size means that it has a massive impact on the global ecosystem. We perceive these to be key global trends that are being driven and shaped by the decisions of the Indian operators in 2012 onwards. And in particular, TD-LTE, a couple of years ago regarded as a niche technology, now entering the mainstream because of the efforts largely of China and of India, India's decision to go with TD-LTE rather than WiMAX after the BWA auction. And as we can see from this extract from the most recent 4G Counts report, we are seeing about 42 TD-LTE commitments and trials already in place, with 45% of those in Asia, but also, interestingly, 1/3 in Europe. That would not have happened, we believe, without the impact of the Indian decision, which puts real scale behind the ecosystem. Similarly, the size of the Indian market affects device economics around the world. It encourages the ecosystem to come up with cheaper devices with innovative platforms. And new web services models. I know Basharat will highlight some of the importance of the mobile web in the Indian economy beyond just playing games, the importance of localized content, business applications, and so on. In reverse, India influences the rest of the world and the decisions of the operators, but of course the decisions that the global community are making influence what the Indian carriers will be implementing over the next few years. And our particular trend that we are analysing here is not just that TD-LTE becomes more mainstream, but that it starts to converge with FD-LTE to support roaming and shared services. We think this will be a critical trend for the economics of 4G in India once FDD spectrum is released, which we'll hear more about later. Other very important trends that we believe will help Indian operators, will improve their business case for 3G and 4G, are significant breakthroughs in multi-mode devices that can support multiple bands and FD and TV plus 3G in an affordable form factor, driving down to the sub-$100 multi-band 4G handset. And the other important issue, all the research and breakthroughs on supporting multiple bands, is the ability to roam. And that, of course, will be a critical business issue for India domestically with the new regulations coming up, and also as Indian carriers look to increase their customers and their influence all around the world. I hope that just briefly sets the scene. We now like to drill down into the specifics of the Indian market. So I'm going to hand over to Basharat to present to us the key findings from our most recent report on the Indian mobile broadband market.
Thank you, Caroline. Basharat, you are now the presenter.
Thank you, Adlan. It's my pleasure to present the results of our latest report, India 4G and Cellular Market Analysis and Forecasts 2012 to 2017. For this report, we established conversation with the leading operators and equipment vendors in India. Regardless of the topic of analysis we are working on or the region that we are covering, we have arrived to a major key finding that operators have in common. They have questions. First and most fundamental question operators ask themselves is how to make money out of my business, or how to make my business more profitable. This is linked to a second question. How can we provide more value to our customers? What services they need? How should we price those services so that it will positively impact our revenues? Can I offer voice over LTE? What alternatives do I have to address the increasing demand of data traffic in my network? With the rapid proliferation of technologies, they question themselves. How much will it cost to deploy the new technology?
Bashrat, sorry to interrupt
easy?
you. We still see your cover slide?
Yeah. I'm just giving you the introduction. They sometimes are unsure which path to follow. Should I go TD-LTE or should I go FDD-LTE? Should I? Can I? There are many questions that operators have today. So we decided to work on a report focused on 3G and 4G in India that addresses all these fundamental questions. So the agenda for today will be the following. First, I'll present the key findings of the report. In the key findings section, I'll talk about the market drivers, operator challenges, and our 3G and 4G forecasts. I'll present a TD-LTE operator case study. At the end, I'll have my conclusions. So starting with the key findings, I've summarized the key findings of the report in three fundamentally. The first key finding has to be with the market drivers. These are the factors that will cause a new market or product to develop. And although there are many market drivers that will affect the growth of 3G and 4G in India, such as the proliferation of $50 smartphones. On the TD-LTE front, there will be multi-mode devices that support 4G as well as 3G and 2G technologies, enabling TD-LTE to take advantage of the 3G and 2G ecosystems. Local content-based mobile applications will emerge as a revenue-generating opportunity for the new mobile ecosystem. There's a huge growth potential in a country which still has relatively low broadband penetration, which is currently at about just 1%. The second key finding has to be with the challenges that operators in India are facing today. Definitely, 3G spectrum crunch is one of them. The next big challenge for operators is how to monetize their networks or to make the most profit out of their business, especially in a market characterized by low ARPU. Another challenge is the 3G/4G device cost. The device cost has acted as a brake on the pace of subscriber acquisition in a price-sensitive market like India. The third key finding has to be with our forecasts. We have provided some interesting forecasts for 3G and 4G subscribers. We forecast 3G and TD-LTE subscriber base will reach 371 million and 67 million by the end of 2017 in India. So starting with the market drivers, the absence of TD-LTE device ecosystem currently remains the prime hurdle to faster growth in India. Operators face the challenge of bringing an inexpensive multi-mode device to the consumer. The current price of TD-LTE device, which is around $90 for a multi-mode dongle, is far too high for the average Indian consumer. The fall of device prices to touch $50 price point, which an Indian consumer can afford, may take more than 2 years. So if prices fall more slowly, TD-LTE adoption in India may evolve even more slowly than expected. In the coming months, as 3G and other high-speed networks like TD-LTE reach in rural segments and urban parts of India, local content-based mobile applications will emerge as a revenue-generating opportunity for the new mobile ecosystem. When I say local content-based mobile apps, I mean the content customized to the needs of the local market. For example, news in the local languages. India has 22 official languages. Devotional services, astrology, applications around popular festivals in India like Diwali and Holi. India currently faces the challenge for broadband market penetration due to low PC ownership and affordability issues. According to the new telecom policy that was announced in the last week of May 2012, the Indian government is targeting to increase rural teledensity from the current level of around 39 to 100 by the end of year 2020. This is a picture of huge growth potential in a country which still has very low broadband penetration and urgent economic needs for greater broadband availability. Investment in 3G and 4G wireless technologies like TD-LTE and FDD-LTE will be the most affordable and efficient way to boost broadband access, especially in the rural areas, which are vital to growth for the operators and for the economy as a whole. So now talking about challenges, in India, the 3G license holders were awarded only 5 megahertz per operator compared with 20 megahertz in many international markets. As the 3G pace picks up, Indian networks will be flooded with data. The data explosions we have witnessed in Japan, the US, and Western Europe will be dwarfed by what we see in India. The 3G operators are likely to experience increasing network congestion as 3G services are rolled out. In India, the prepaid GSM ARPU is very low, which is at around $1.7 when compared with the postpaid ARPU, which is around $10. The reason is that postpaid subscribers have higher incoming as well as outgoing call usage as compared to their prepaid subscribers. The monthly blended ARPU here in India for a GSM service is approximately $1.7. So this is very low compared to other developed markets like Japan, South Korea, and US. Although 4G has only been launched, that was in April 2012, we expect it to face the same situation like 3G if operators do not reduce the 4G tariffs soon. There's a chance of history repeating itself with the 4G launch. India being a price-sensitive market, price points / tariffs will be one of the key determinants of growth. So next 2 slides I'll be talking about Maravedis-Rethink forecasts for the sport. Our research reveals that in India the growth of 3G has been slower. We estimate that India had 18 million active 3G subscribers at the end of February 2012. The main reason for the slow subscriber uptake is the high price of 3G services. Prior to the 3G tariff slash, 3G service pricing was almost 4 times higher than 2G. 3G service pricing has acted as a brake on the pace of subscriber acquisition in India. Maravedis-Rethink believes that another reason for the slow 3G subscriber uptake is the lack of affordable devices. However, we believe that the adoption of lower-cost smartphones in the $50 range will influence the 3G growth, and we expect the 3G ecosystem to gain a larger foothold by year 2014 in India. We forecast the 3G subscriber base in India will reach 41 million by the end of this year, and by the end of 2017, we forecast that India will have an active 3G subscriber base of 371 million. The market share growth will depend on how fast operators can deploy 3G networks in their respective license circles and how rapidly they can address the demand in the rural areas. The year 2012 to 15 will be the takeoff period for 3G. Beyond 2015, TD-LTE will have created a strong foothold in India's 4G market. At the moment, India is primarily a voice and SMS market, but now moving towards data with the release of 3G spectrum by the government of India. The wireless data in India is mostly consumed by the dongle users and not on smartphones. The 3G operators are likely to experience the increasing network congestion as 3G services are rolled out. With this in mind, operators are considering various options for the 3G data offload, notably Wi-Fi and femtocells. As femtocells are expensive at around $100 per femtocell, Maravedis-Rethink expects more deployments of 2G and 3G mobile data offload to Wi-Fi within India in the coming quarters. Again, our research reveals that Indian operators like Ticona and Zilog that are providing wireless broadband services in the unlicensed frequency bands, which are 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz, are expected to play an important role in the 3G data offload. These operators aim to become partners for the various 3G players who will reach capacity exhaustion in the coming quarters. providing the Wi-Fi infrastructure to carry access loads. Moving to 4G market forecasts, Maravedis-Rethink expects to see some traction on the TD-LTE front in India in the second half of 2013. We forecast the TD-LTE subscriber base in India will reach 2 million by the end of 2013. By the end of 2017, we forecast that India will have a TD-LTE subscriber base of 67 million. Again, indoor CPEs with Wi-Fi and multi-mode dongles are the only two devices currently being used in India. We believe multi-mode smartphones and tablets will not be available in India in the immediate future. By the end of 2017, we forecast 45% of the 4G TD-LTE device market will be multi-mode smartphones. 30% would be multi-mode tablets, 20% multi-mode dongles, and 5% indoor CPEs with Wi-Fi. The absence of TD-LTE device ecosystem remains the prime hurdle, as I said in my previous slides. So the fall of device price to $50 price point, which an Indian consumer can afford, may take 1 or 2 years, I would say. So for 4G FDD services, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has pushed the auctions by a few years. So it's likely that the auction will take place in 2014. This means FDD LTE variant will be deployed when 700 MHz spectrum is allocated in late 2014 or early 2015. So TD LTE is set to dominate 4G until FDD spectrum is released. Now I'll present a TD LTE operator case study. That would be a Bharti Airtel, because this is the only operator that is commercial with a TD LTE. So recently, Bharti Airtel announced the acquisition of 49% in Qualcomm Incorporated's BWA company in India for an initial investment of $165 million. Bharti plans to acquire the remaining 51% stake in Qualcomm's BWA operation by 2015. Again, it's very important to mention here, in 2010, through a bidding process, Qualcomm backed BWA licenses for the Delhi, Mumbai, Haryana, and Kerala circles for $1 billion. Now the question is, what does the acquisition of Qualcomm spectrum mean for Bharti Airtel? We believe that the acquisition of Qualcomm's license is crucial, as it will give Bharti Airtel an entry into 4 key circles: the lucrative Delhi and Mumbai markets, as well as Kerala, which is the highest literacy population in the nation, and Haryana, one of the richest states with high per capita income. With the acquisition of Qualcomm spectrum, Bharti Airtel will become a key player in the TD-LTE market, with a presence in 8 of the 22 telecom circles. Again, the Bharti Airtel has spectrum mainly a few big cities. It can now focus on the urban, tech-savvy customers who are likely to be the first users of 4G, and delay what will ultimately be relatively costly rollouts to the rural areas. The operator is currently selling multi-mode dongles for about $90 and offering monthly 4G plans that start at about $18 for 6 GB of data to $53 for 30 GB data. Bharti Airtel has 2G, 3G, and 4G spectrum. It has an advantage in offering consumers pan-India connectivity. The multi-mode dongles which it is selling in the market are backward compatible with 3G and 2G. Wherever it has launched 4G, it has 3G available, either its own or through the intra-circle roaming agreements as well. So if the customer is not covered by 4G, he or she can fall back on 3G. And even in 3G, since the networks are not fully utilized, there's good bandwidth available. Currently, the main issue for Bharti Airtel is 4G integration with current 2G and 3G networks. Bharti Airtel has to ensure that the interfaces with the other technologies like 2G and 3G are smooth. For example, interface with the current billing system, current packet core, and other core network elements. Bharti Airtel has to also confront the challenge of 4G base station radius. The LTE base station radius in the 2.3 GHz band is much lower than 3G in the 2.1 GHz band. So Bharti Airtel will have to deploy too many sites in the cities to provide umbrella coverage. It's expected to use small cells in future. I'll summarize Bharti's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in this slide. Bharti Airtel, as I said, has 2G, 3G, and 4G spectrum assets in the country. It's important to mention here that Bharti Airtel has 3G and 4G spectrum in the two lucrative markets, that's Mumbai and Delhi. So this is a major strength. Bharti Airtel does have some weaknesses as well, which we have pointed out. Like, for example, they don't have a pan-India 4G license, which Reliance has, and they are also not that strong in the rural market. Talking about Bharti Airtel's opportunities, we believe that in India there are around 12 or 13 telecom players. So in the current scenario, it's expected that this number will consolidate over the next 1 or 2 years. This is due to a combination of heavy initial investment required for network rollout and severe pricing pressure due to competition. This will be positive for Bharti Airtel as it may acquire some of these players and will certainly face less competition in the market. Talking about Bharti Airtel's main competition and threats, those that would be Reliance Industries Limited, a pan-India license holder here in India. Again, Bharti Airtel has been reporting its quarterly results in which it has shown losses on the foreign currency exchange. So now this brings to my final slide. In this, I'll summarize what I have mentioned so far. As I mentioned in the earlier slides, the growth in Indian wireless market will be hampered by shortages of spectrum in several areas. The limited 3G spectrum availability, which is 5 MHz for data downloads, will add to subscriber woes once 3G services gain traction. The Indian operators are constantly looking to increase their ARPU by rolling out new services like 3G and TD-LTE. Prior to the launch of 3G and TD-LTE, bandwidth restrictions limited the growth of mobile value-added services. We believe 3G and TD-LTE will boost Indian mobile operators' ARPU from value-added services. The monetization of 3G will depend on the use of value-added services like M-Commerce, M-Health, M-Agriculture, and M-Education by 3G and TD-LTE. Maravedis-Rethink expects Indian operators will be more focused on strengthening their vast portfolio. This strategy will help them stay ahead of the competition and also improve ARPU. Again, talking about devices are critical to 3G service uptake. The Indian base of customers using 3G devices is still very small. It will take several years to reach critical mass. Maravedis-Rethink believes that the adoption of $50 smartphones will influence 3G growth in India, as I've been mentioning in my previous slides. Again, Maravedis-Rethink does not expect huge uptake of TD-LTE service before the end of 2013. We have taken into account the fact that as of the end of May 2012, Bharti Airtel is the only operator to have commercially launched TD-LTE, and that too in only 2 circles, Bangalore and Kolkata. Other BWA players like Reliance, Tikona, and Aircel are expected to launch by first half of 2013. Maravedis-Rethink expects to see some traction on the TD-LTE front in the second half of 2013. So with this, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much, Basharat.
So for more information about this report, please contact Adlan Fala at Maravedis. Over to you, Caroline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to add, Basharat, before we do another poll, just a couple of details on that report for people who are interested in more information on it. I'd like to stress that that's the result of in-depth interviews with just about all the 3G, 4G vendors and operators in India. And it does provide in-depth profiles of those operators, including SWOT analysis, and you just saw a summary of one of those there, but of course there's a lot of detail. Detailed spectrum and regulatory analysis and 3G and 4G forecasts covering many areas such as CapEx, subscribers, market share, and so on. So please do contact Adeline if you'd like more information on that. I think we're now going to do another poll.
Yes, thank you, Karan. Thank you, Basharat. Let me launch the second poll here. The question is, what is the biggest challenge for the Indian operators to deploy TD-LTE in India? Please take a few minutes here to respond to one of the choices that are available, and we'll be sharing the results in a few seconds. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. And we'll be sharing the results. Caroline, can you see the results?
Yes, I think that very much backs up some of the themes that Basharat was just covering, that the critical factors for 4G in India, perhaps more than most other markets, is the cost of devices. We can see that almost 40% of respondents name that as the biggest challenge. So that's interesting to see. The second one being the low ARPU. Of course, to an extent, those two things go together in the business case. So I think that very much reflects the findings that we have in some of our bigger studies as well. But it's a good cue to hand on to our next speaker, who perhaps would like to comment on those challenges. I'd like to introduce again, and thanks for being with us, Deepak Chanduka. He's the General Manager of Marketing and Business Development at MTNL. Are you with us, Deepak?
Yeah.
Great.
So is it visible? Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Deepak Chanduka. I am General Manager, Marketing and Business Development from MTNL. Most of the, scenario about TD, LTE, and 3G status has been covered by previous speakers. I would be talking more about the MTNL status and strategies. The agenda from my side today is some brief points about MTNL at glance and some of the highlights of this year 2012, some new developments which have taken place and the impact of new telecom policy. Then I'll be talking about the potential growth factors for MTNL for mobile broadband and where do we see mobile broadband in the next level and what is the MTNL strategy to meet. To say a few words about MTNL, it was incorporated in 1986 as a public sector unit with the 56% government holding, and the basic purpose was to upgrade the quality of telecom services and expand the telecom network. That time it was very important that modern technology should be quickly adopted. So Delhi and Mumbai being the political capital and the business capital of India, so this PSU was created. MTNL has been pioneer in all telecom technologies to implement for the first time in the country, and they became one of the leading operators in that area. And we also got in that case the Navratna status in 1997. The present employee base of MTNL is 41,600, which is one of the biggest problem which MTNL is facing in wake of competition. Some of the existing services that we have in MTNL, we were the first to launch 3G mobile services, ADSL 2+, VDSL, broadband, IPTV and VoIP services. We provide all the basic services starting from basic telephony, ISDN, MPLS services, managed lease line network, CDMA, 2G, 3G, long distance services, internet, broadband, conferencing and many more. Considering the 3G, 2G status in MTNL, we have as of now 5 million customers in 3G and 2G in Delhi and Mumbai. And from MTNL side, we have configured all the customers for 3G. All our tariff plans, etc. is for 3G. And customers have choice depending on the set. They can configure for 3G or 2G without any extra charges for 3G. We have now current expansion plans for 3G network. We are going to add more node B in the network. We are also floating a tender for femtocells implementation to provide better coverage and capacity. To give information about the spectrum that we have got for 3G, we have 2 into 5 megahertz, 2.1 gigahertz range for 3G. And we have paid a very high price for Delhi and Mumbai, which makes our business very crucial in terms of the competition that we are facing in the wake of the tariff wars and all that. 4G spectrum, we got 20 megahertz in 2.5, 2.6 gigahertz, and that was returned in 2-3 years because, yeah, first of all, it was a very costly spectrum, and then MTNL was trying to have a revenue share partner, and we had floated EOI, we had engaged PwC as our consultant for that purpose, but finally, since we did not get any revenue share partner, so we have returned the spectrum to government, and now we are waiting for this money to be recovered, or otherwise it depends on government policy what they decide on this. As mentioned by previous speaker, the blended ARPU for GSM is very low, which is 1.7 USD per month. It makes us very difficult to survive in the present business, and we are expanding our network to give more and more services to the customer so that we increase the ARPU. And there is a growth, it's a positive growth in 3G data consumption, and around 5% growth we are finding every month. The major problem that we are facing is the price wars in 3G data plans. In between people, some of our competitors, and we also try to increase the 3G data plans. The result was that the growth was not happening. So again, 3G tariffs have been reduced so that we have more and more customers. We don't, and coming to our backhaul fiber capacity, we have very good fiber network as an advantage to MTNL to carry our various services of MPLS, enterprise, 3G or broadband. This graph typically shows the growth in 3G data volume starting from 2009 in terabyte per day. So every year you can see we are growing in terms of 3G data volume. So around 4 terabyte is the present volume of 3G data growth. We are trying to expand our network by upgrading the present HS DPH 3G network from 3.6 Mbps to 21.1 Mbps per sector by using HS PA plus technology. We are also increasing the packet core capacity from the present 2.2 gigabit per second to 20 gigabit per second across Delhi and Mumbai. In terms of the number of nodes and BTS that we are going to add within 3 months down the line is around 610 more nodes will be added in Delhi and 380 in Mumbai. And similarly, BTS, normal BTS are also being added in both the cities. We are also upgrading our TDM backhaul microwave network from the present 16 E1 up to ST1 to hybrid microwave up to 400 Mbps in the 2 cities. We are expecting that these changes will have a revenue growth to increase in data and to 3G and data usage. This year we are expecting growth of 7.5%, and for next years we have the target of 12% and 15 years subsequently. We are also trying to generate revenue through sharing of BTS node B and the microwave backhaul network, and at least 5% growth we are expecting through the sharing of infrastructure and microwave backhaul network. And if NTP 2012, if it allows the sharing of 3G spectrum, so earlier also we had tried, we are hopeful to generate additional $100 million per year revenue by sharing the 3G spectrum. We also feel that MTNL is operating in Delhi and Mumbai, which are most revenue generating cities, and we have, as per the Google India data also, there is a very high revenue from mobile broadband in these 2 cities, because mobile internet is, as compared to the total percentage in country, it is very high. It is around 15% as of now. And then higher ARPU from mobile broadband will also drive the 3G and 4G market as compared to the present very low ARPU, which is $1.7. And we are expecting when the data services are reaching common people, the ARPU will go more than $10, and that only will drive a market for 3G as well as 4G. There's another concern by MTNL is regarding the fixed broadband user. We have around 1 million fixed broadband users in the network across Delhi and Mumbai, and they may also shift to wireless broadband in future. So MTNL is power. So we are trying the 3G along with FTTS technology so that we don't lose power. कहाँ गया? निकल गया. My goodness, निकल गया. निकल गया. खींचा था नहीं ना.
Maybe we can push this third poll here in the meantime as you find a new power source here. Let's see here. I'm going to be launching another poll just to give Deepak a few minutes here to set up his system. And the next poll here is, what is your preferred option handling rising mobile data traffic in India? Is it going to be femtocells, Wi-Fi offload, etc.? Please take a few minutes here to respond to one of the choices, and then we'll be commenting the responses later on. So we still have a number of responses coming in here, and we'll give it a few more seconds. We have about half of people that have voted so far, so give it a few more seconds.
Okay. Hello.
Okay,
Hello?
so I'm going to
sorry, disconnection.
yeah, sorry, I'm just going to close the poll here, and we're going to show the results of the poll. So we have Caroline, do you want to comment some of the results here? So we have had to push the poll here in the middle of your presentation. Or we can leave the comments towards the end too, if you want. Okay, I'm gonna.
Can I comment, Erlen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, the results that we see on the screen, I mean, this is what I had in my, this is what I envisage. Femtocells are very expensive, $100 price points. A subscriber here in India won't be able to afford so this kind of price. So Wi-Fi offload definitely makes more sense here in India. Operators own Wi-Fi hotspots, and there are some other players in the country
Okay,
who
thank
can
you.
always lease their networks.
Thank you, Basharat.
Okay.
Thanks. So let's go back to Deepak's presentation, that we can have him comment also. So it's back to you, Deepak.
Yeah. So some new developments which have taken place in this year, like unified license has come up. It will be rolled out post December, and we can have a concept of one nation free roaming concept will be introduced in the next year. And then there's a lot of stress in the new telecom policy to provide secure and reliable service anywhere, and socio-economic development is also being linked to the complete telecom network in the country. If we see the first areas of new telecom policy, we find that broadband will be given for all at a minimum download speed of 2 Mbps, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the bandwidth requirement in the country, because if you see even on the broadband, many customers are still working on 512 kbps on those speeds. So giving 2 MB across different media, whether landline, fiber to home, DSL, or 3G and 4G, will generate a lot of opportunities in this space. Then convergence of various services, network devices is also a thrust area. Liberalization of spectrum, any service in any technology is important point in the new telecom policy. Licensing regime is also being simplified, delinking or spectrum from the license. Then consumer focus in terms of mobile number portability and free roaming is going to be more focused towards providing services at a very low cost to the customer. That is the basic intention, that the service should be available at very low cost to the customers. Voice over Internet protocol is yet to be properly introduced, which will play a very important role for giving voice on 4G. Cloud computing, and then using mobile phones from communication to empowerment, which means that all e-commerce, e-governance services, etc., will be made available across the country to the customers. Some of the potential growth factors that we see are that beyond voice, we need to go as the biggest motivation, the video on demand services. Voice on video on demand on 3G or 4G enabled devices will overcome these problems. And like Bashat also mentioned, the choice of content, privacy, etc., I mean, they will drive the future networks. Tablets are being introduced by different operators in big way. Lot of packages are being introduced. MTNL has also introduced certain packages where tablets are being given at a very low cost to the customers. Video is expected to generate a lot of traffic on the network to generate enough volume for the customers. And most of the audio applications like audio mail, interactive audio, etc., will be transferred to video mailing, interactive video response, video ringback tones, video conferencing, streaming, video advertising, etc. Today, if you see the value-added services in GSM, mostly ringback tones are generating a lot of revenue. So video ringback tones and these services are going to be very important in future high bandwidth networks. Further, gaming industry in mobile is expected to multifold and generating a lot of revenue. Hottest spots are going to come in various places, and operators are going to have a model of mix of fixed and mobile networks, wherein the customer will be connected on a single device when he is at home or when he is moving across different networks, giving fallback from 4G to 3G or fallback to Wi-Fi and all these networks. If you see the corporate side, there are 26 million small and medium enterprises in the country. A lot of them are having offices in Delhi and Mumbai. So we have a lot of packages available for SMEs, because throughout the country they are going to connect to their head offices on video and broadband links. So we are targeting SMEs customers in these two cities. And from traveling sales force to account finance using 4G, 3G, they are going to promise a lot of improvement in business transactions for these SMEs. Some of the points which are very common to all operators and is part of MTN's strategy also, like if you see the 3G infrastructure, what is the present state, what is the future strategy for all the operators. The basic problem is the inadequacy of 3G towers along with the inadequacy of the spectrum. So we are also trying to increase 3G towers by 2 or 3 times to provide better quality. Then 3G network at present are not interworking with Wi-Fi players in a big way. So a lot of Wi-Fi players and such networks are being tied up to improve the coverage. Interoperability issues are also there. The operator testing, 3G inter-roaming, a lot of issues are there. So all these issues are being addressed. Coming to the final slide, content is very important for targeting 4G and high data customers. So from focusing to high-speed data, video calls, mobile, now we have to also focus on the killer applications like video, high-speed gaming and data. From vanilla applications, we have to move towards the vertical applications in health, education sector and other verticals. We have to focus different applications for different age groups, youth, professionals, housewives. Different age groups need to be targeted for increasing the use of data. We have to give a lot of freebies, subsidized schemes are being given in 3G. Now we have to improve the quality of experience. Like video has not been very successful on 3G, we have to see that in future networks video becomes secular application. then we need to, at present, there are very limited tie-ups with the content aggregators and value-added service providers. So once this unified licensing and all these schemes come, we hope there will be various verticals, service providers, licensors, spectrum providers, so that the ecosystem would work, concentrating on different aspects of content only or service only, and network related things, so that overall experience for the customers will be great. And one of the biggest problem is the 3G handsets. The cost of average 3G handset is still very high. That should come down. As mentioned by my previous speaker also, the smartphone should be available for a cost like $50 or something. The intake of smartphone 3G phone is to be increased. Then there is also lack of awareness about the usage of 3G phones. And there should be more training, and we are concentrating a lot of demonstrations training by our partners and from our side also, because there are a lot of people who are not knowing how to configure their handsets to 3G, even though they have got 3G compatible phones, because we are giving 3G to all the customers. Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Caroline? I know we have a number of questions have come in from the audience, and we only have a few minutes left, maybe about 10, as we have started a little bit late. Caroline, are you there? I think we have some audio issues here with Caroline.
Hello, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself properly. Yes, we've got loads of questions here, so thank you so much, Deepak. That was a great presentation and very interesting to hear from an operator on the ground, so to speak. Lots of questions here and not too much time. So they do seem to be crowding around two particular topics, so I'm going to focus on those. One we actually saw in the second poll, and that's the issue of offload and whether carriers are better to use Wi-Fi, carrier Wi-Fi, or femtocells, which as Bashrat pointed out have a cost issue at the moment. So Deepak, I wonder if you could comment further on what MTNL's strategy will be in terms of working with Wi-Fi and in future maybe with femtocells.
Yeah, we are trying to tie up with various service providers for providing Wi-Fi hotspots, and the backhaul can be on 3G or our other means of communication. And we are also floating a tender for getting femtocells, where we are taking different combinations of femtocells, can cater 816 or 264 connections. And we are also going to use our fiber to the home network, which will be used as a backhaul to connect this femtocells, so that the traffic can be eased out on our packet core network and the backhaul. That is our strategy, that to increase the capacity of the network and the coverage using femtocell as well as Wi-Fi.
Excellent. I mean, certainly it's interesting to see the huge cost issue around femtocells in India, because in some areas, of course, we're seeing them being quite a major part of the strategy at an earlier stage. The other main theme that's emerging from a lot of the questions we've got is the issue of how long operators should rely on 3G or how quickly they should go to 4G. And in particular, is there enough of a window for TD-LTE before the 700 megahertz auction occurs? I know at the moment MTNL is concentrating on 3G, and certainly we see with operators all around the world that even if they adopt 4G, they need to get a return on 3G investment, and will continue to use that technology in most cases for broad coverage. What could you tell us a little more, Deepak, about your thoughts on when is the right time to introduce 4G, and what's the lifespan for a 3G network in terms of supporting mobile broadband services?
You see, 4G licenses have been given in 2011 and 2012, and most of the operators have not rolled out the network. They are perhaps depending on that window of 5 years, because they have to roll out the network within 5 years as per the license conditions. And whatever implementation we see by other operators as of now, a very small number of customers are there on 4G right now. And the reason for that is the very high cost. The ecosystem is not well developed, because world over we have more implementations in 700 megahertz or 2.5, 2.6 gigahertz. And what people have got, our private operators have got 2.3 gigahertz. Now that is not a very efficient spectrum, and the radius these towers they can connect is very small. So they have to put a lot of towers to have a complete coverage. So as I can understand, various operators are trying to roll out network as a mix of fixed and mobile network. They are depending on creating Wi-Fi hotspots for covering. Sometimes they are going to use TDLT just for high capacity or fixed kind of usage. So a lot of challenges are there. But there is one announcement from government also, like they are going to release 700 megahertz spectrum initially in the 1800 megahertz range. Now that will happen next year, but later on 700 megahertz will be released. So that has a better ecosystem. So definitely if 700 megahertz come, that is the best spectrum. So operators have a lot of challenge in rolling out this TDLT on this 2.3 gigahertz. So that's why MTNL also decided that, considering the cost and other factors, we return the spectrum. We are concentrating on 3G network in expanding it, and then using backhaul of FTTH or using our own 2G network as the fallback arrangement. So we think that 3G networks and 4G networks, they will run in parallel for at least 5 years. 3G is going to have much better coverage and other implementations. And of course, we are all waiting for 4G operators to roll out network in within the window of time frame that they have been given.
Yes, that's interesting, and certainly we also saw Basharat was showing us how the projections for 3G investment and subscribers remain very high right up to 2017, despite 4G coming along at that stage. So that really echoes what you're saying, that many operators will still have a heavy reliance on those 3G networks for core services. I think we have time for one more question before we close. Just like to ask, what do you feel, because it's been in the news a lot and several of our audience are asking, what you feel will be the impact of the removal of roaming charges in India, which has been a big topic of debate. Is this a concern for MTNL?
Come again?
The roaming charges, the plans to remove roaming charges within India.
You see, generally speaking, for any operator, including MTNL, there's some 10% revenue is depending on roaming. So definitely when we have one nation roaming, every operator is going to have lose that revenue of roaming. But there are so many other factors which are also driving this price war of 3G data charges. So definitely, there will be more pressure on us as well as other operators, and we are the only option is that we give more value-added services, more video applications. So ultimately, the ARPU has to improve from $1.7 to data-related ARPU, because if you see the ARPU for broadband on landline, so it is $12. So when mobile broadband improves, more and more data intensive applications come, gaming, etc. The answer lies in more revenue through data-centric applications.
Yes, I understand. No, that's very interesting. It's clearly a big topic of debate around India at the moment. On that note, sadly, we will call the Q&A session to an end because we've come to the top of the hour, and I know people will have a lot of pressures on their time. Would really like to thank again our panellists today. Deepak Chanduka, thank you for spending the time to share with us a lot about MTNL. That's been extremely enlightening. Thank you also to Bashar Atashai for showing us key findings of the India Cellular report from Maravedis-Rethink. Please do contact us with any questions, further questions that you have, or any ways that we can help you with your research needs. And I'd like, of course, to thank everybody for attending, and I will now call the webinar to a close. Thank you so much.